Let's get straight into it. We've got a question from Jenny, and she's asking how long before the US pause starts to impact Ukraine on the ground. Didn't Biden Trump-proof the last package?
He tried to, yes. I mean, there was $62 billion worth of aid that went through eventually in March last year. It should have gone through at Christmas, but it went through in March. And the last bit of that was allocated before Biden left office. It looks as if there's about $1 billion worth of stuff which is in the pipeline, which has been paused by the United States. So that's what Ukraine stands to lose, and there'd be quite a lot of ammunition in that. On the question of how long could Ukraine last out? Well, some months, I think, is the answer. I've checked this out with a number of military professionals, American military professionals, and they've said they could probably go till for maybe another 5 or 6 months on what they've got. And remember, they'll be getting more stuff as well from the Europeans, but nothing quite substitutes for what the United States can provide. So the answer is yes, it won't be immediate, but eventually, if the pipeline runs out of American stuff, the Ukrainians will feel it toward the autumn of this year.
Yeah, I guess it's that question of quality and quantity, because there's been all these big arguments about numbers. I mean, President Trump likes to talk about this. And if you look at it, it's sort of, a third of total military supplies are from the US. It is the single biggest donor, but it's also the type of supplies, right? Can you give us an idea of what they're giving that's so crucial to Ukraine?
Yeah, I mean, it's the high-tech stuff. So the HIMARS rocket systems, which are very, very good. This is multiple launch rocket systems, but they're very accurate. So the HIMARS systems are really good. The F-16s, they're getting those from other countries as well, but the F-16 aircraft. The real thing that they miss in the high-tech area is intelligence and intelligence assets, if the United States doesn't allow that. And then the other element of it is the sheer bulk of artillery shells. I mean, the United States can supply so many 155 millimeter artillery shells. The Europeans struggle. They said they'd supply 1 million. They didn't make 1 million last year. They didn't supply 1 million last year, though they committed to. The Europeans always fall short of the commitments they make. They make a commitment, they deliver something. It's never as much as they say they're going to deliver. But the US can always provide, literally, I mean, millions and millions of rounds of small arms ammunition, shells, tank shells, 120 millimeter tank shells for the Western tanks that the Ukrainians have got. So it's some high-tech systems which you can't really get from anywhere else, Patriot, things like that, air defense, and it's the bulk of ammunition which the US can just turn on. They have a tap they can turn on because they produce so much of it themselves.
Yeah, and as you say, Europe doesn't. Maybe need to go to the North Koreans who are doing it on the Russian side. And apologies to Tim M, because I just realised I've stolen your question, which is what weapons do the US provide that Europe can't cover? But Michael, I think you've just answered that. So sorry, Tim.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, apologies. This one's from Carter. And he's asking, is this personal for Trump versus Zelenskyy after Zelenskyy didn't help investigate Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine? I mean, Trump is a man who bears a grudge. Is this the reason for a grudge? Is there a grudge, do you think?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a legacy there. And I mean, I know more or less for a fact that Trump does keep a list of enemies, or lists are kept for him. So he lists all of the slights and insults and the things he doesn't like. And these lists are kept up to date by people with him, and he's reminded of them, because he's a sort of cross between his management style is a cross between a medieval monarch and a mafia boss. And so nothing goes unanswered in one way or another. He may choose to ignore it, but he knows about it. He may forget, but people remind him, and he wants people to remind him. So yes, there's a legacy there. It's not just the Hunter Biden, Joe Biden issue that goes back to 2019, 2020. It's the fact he just doesn't like Zelenskyy. I mean, Zelensky's pugnacious, and he always was, even before he was in politics, when he was the most highly paid executive TV producer in Ukraine. He was a very successful comedian, but he ran his own production companies. He was always autocratic. He's a very type A personality, and he's a pugnacious man, and he's been leading his country for 3 years in a war for survival. So he bites back, and Trump, really didn't like that last Friday, but he doesn't like Zelenskyy much in any case.